WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. This is Newslink. Here are the top stories. All political parties in Sierra Leone end campaign days before the June 24 general elections.
We are so fearful of what will happen in the city because of the tensions that we are looming, and we have not heard of any serious incident of violence in the city until the provincial headquarters terms.
In Senegal, convicted politicians may have their civic rights restored as a committee at the ongoing national dialogue agree to amend 2 articles. World-leading cocoa producers to establish a central marketing platform.
If you have Accra or Lagos or Abidjan markets, definitely you can have more say in the market, and that can definitely change the price regimes that we've been seeing over the years.
And Liberian government trains over 2 dozen health workers to handle drug addicts in the country. Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Tofik Abdulnasir with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us. Campaigns ended on Wednesday across Sierra Leone ahead of the country's general elections on June 24. But was the campaign overall satisfactory, with authorities having banned rallies? WADR's Patrick Salia in Freetown reports that the country's Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, declared that it was hitch-free and applauded political parties for their conduct during the period.
The PPRC chairman Bangura said that the parties have comported themselves substantially enough for the June 24 elections than in the past, as they feared intra-party violence.
We are so fearful of what will happen in the city because of the tensions that we are looming, and we have not heard of any serious incident of violence in the city until the provincial headquarters terms. The 2 main political parties, they have not gone by that particular rule that campaign should end at 5 p.m. Both of them have campaigned on to 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But our focus is, even if they go outside the campaign period, as long as nothing untoward happen, I think we can put up with that. And they did not obstruct the political opponents' campaign activities. That's our focus.
Earlier this week, videos and photos emerged on social media of the main opposition's office in the southern capital, Bo City, allegedly touched by unknown assailants. But Bangura assured that the Inspector General of Police has launched a speedy investigation into the situation. Unlike previous election cycles, political parties' campaign rallies this year remain banned across Sierra Leone by the Regulatory Commission. Again, the PPRC chief said the decision helped in minimizing the usual spates of violence.
We've done that this particular electoral cycle through consultations. We called the political parties to a meeting. All of us agreed. And after this, if we're going to go into another electoral cycle, we'll do the same so that we'll look at it. But even those who were opposed to that ban, now they are commending the Political Parties Regulation Commission that it was good we did that, and that the campaigns were much more quieter this electoral cycle than they used to be.
Meanwhile, some political parties which did not fill in candidates in certain districts say their presidential candidates were prevented by the campaign calendar to promote their party's vision to the voters. A claim the PPRC boss denies, stating that the parties were forewarned before the calendar was released.
If your party did not fill in candidates in a particular district, then we see no reason why you should go there, because, your activity will not benefit anyone.
Out of the 17 registered, only 14 of the political parties will participate in the elections on Saturday, June 24, 2023. Patrick Salia, WADR News, Freetown.
In Senegal, Khalifa Sall and Karim Wade could once again be eligible. The political committee of the National Dialogue has reached a consensus to amend Article L28 and 29. These 2 articles of the Electoral Code prevent them from standing for election if they are convicted. At the end of the National Dialogue, if these proposals are adopted, the former mayor of Dakar, Khalifa Sall, and Karim Wade, son of the former president, could be candidates in the 2024 presidential elections. More details with Matisi.
The consensus reached on amending Articles L28 and L29 will enable former Dakar Mayor Khalifa Sall and Karim Wade, son of former President Abdoulaye Wade, to regain their civil and political rights. In the case of Article L28, civil society asked the presidential pardon to be taken into account. This proposal was endorsed by representatives of the majority, who also added that a pardoned offender should first serve the sentence handed down by the judge before recovering his civil and political rights. If the proposal to consider the pardon is approved after the dialogue, Khalifa Sall and Karim Wade will once again be eligible for election. With regard to Article L29, the dialogue's political committee tackled the issue of permanent ineligibility. The agreement reached stipulates that all those who have finished serving their sentence, except in the case of crimes, embezzlement of public funds, or drug trafficking, may regain their civic and political rights after a probationary period of 5 years. The political committee has also failed to reach a decision on President Macky Sall's candidacy, should he decide to stand for re-election for a third term. If no agreement is reached by the end of the national dialogue, the decision will be left to the Constitutional Council, according to one participant. No agreement was also reached on the institution to organize the elections. While the participants representing the majority believe that it should remain in the hands of the state, as is the case in many great democracies, the opponents are demanding a neutral and independent institution or personality.
Marty C. filed that report.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Guinea, the trial into the September 28, 2009 stadium massacre has again been postponed until 10 July after it was due to resume on Wednesday. The reason given by the Public Prosecutor's Office for the postponement is the strike on Wednesday by prison guards, demanding an improvement in their living and working conditions. Ogeobi Erika brings more details in this report by WADR's Conakry correspondent Cherno Alpha Ibrahima Balde.
It was around midday when the president of the court appeared in the courtroom. Abdulnasir Tunkara called the accused and read out the charges. To his surprise, none of the defendants was present in the room, upon which the public prosecutor of the Dixon Court of First Instance, Al-Gassimo Giallo, took the floor to explain why.
Prison guards are currently on strike. They have indicated that there will be no extractions and that no committal orders will be received either at the central prison in Conakry or in the other central prisons and civil prisons throughout the country.
In order to allow the public prosecutors of the Conakry Court and the first president of the Conakry Court of Appeal to conduct negotiations with the prison guards, the public prosecutor requested a further postponement of the trial.
Mr. President, since the defendants are not in the room, we request a postponement to allow us to continue the negotiations that we have begun to see if we can reach a successful conclusion to this case as well.
A request supported by the acting president of the Guinean Bar, Maitre Malik Kemoko Jakite. It should be noted that the lawyers who had boycotted the hearings all attended. However, some of them have indicated that they have merely suspended their movement to allow the country's highest authorities to satisfy their demands.
Ogeobi Erika with that report by WADR's Conakry correspondent Cherno Alpha Ibrahima Balde. Now, world-leading producers of cocoa have joined forces to establish an African cocoa exchange platform for the pricing of cocoa on the continent. The platform, comprising Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Togo, is aimed at helping the continent, whose cocoa hubs and value chains are predominantly in West Africa, have some control over the pricing of cocoa. It will function as an international marketing platform for financing and trading cocoa proceeds between farmers, local and international consumers of cocoa. From Accra, Atiwin Imbilalosin reports.
Over 60% of cocoa produced globally originates from West Africa, with Ghana recognized as one of the world's largest producers, second only to Côte d'Ivoire. Presently, there are only two international markets for the trading of cocoa: New York in America and London in the United Kingdom, which, according to stakeholders, make it difficult for cocoa farmers to bargain for better pricing. Speaking after the opening of the stakeholders workshop on the feasibility studies for the African Cocoa Exchange, the chief executive of Ghana Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahin Edu, said the move is the best way for Africa to control pricing, as it will give some confidence to the producers to demand the right prices for their commodity.
Prices have been dictated at the New York market and then the London market. If you have Accra or Lagos or Abidjan markets, definitely you can have more say in the market, and that can definitely change the price regimes that we've been seeing over the years. But beside that, let me indicate that the platform will also give us the confidence, the strong confidence that we have lacked over the years. We had little say in the market. Now, if it's based here in Africa, I believe our traders can trade properly and better for us.
Present at the workshop was Ghana's Minister of Food and Agriculture, Bryony Champong, who described the initiative as a new dawn in Africa's cocoa industry.
Could be the beginning of a new chapter in the African cocoa industry's history. We have the opportunity to change our course and revolutionize the cocoa supply chain for delivery of greater value to all actors.
All things being equal, the African Cocoa Exchange will be established this year, with Ghana making a move to host the platform. Reporting for Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. All political parties in Sierra Leone end campaign days before the June 24 general elections. In Senegal, convicted politicians may have their civic rights restored as a committee at the ongoing national dialogue agree to amend 2 articles. World-leading cocoa producers to establish a central marketing platform, and Liberian government trains over 24 health workers to handle drug addicts in the country. Still ahead is the guest interview, press review, and sports news. Stay tuned.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Amid the increase in the number of drug addicts among Liberian youths, the country has begun instituting measures to rehabilitate drug addicts. Statistics show that 2 in 10 youth in Liberia are users of narcotic substances, something the country has begun addressing. WADR's Darlington Popper in Monrovia reports.
As part of the process to addressing the problem, more than 30 healthcare workers have completed a high-level training on universal treatment on substance use disorder. The training was organized by the country's Mental Health Division with support from the International Narcotics and Law Enforcement in Liberia, says Mental Health Director Angie Holaba.
We also look at the aspect of treatment, and then we also look at the aspect of recovery. So the issue of substance use disorder or drug demand reduction program, it has 3 components. INL Liberia, that is the Bureau of Narcotics, International Narcotics and Law Enforcement in Liberia, provided financial support to the government of Liberia.
For her part, Health Minister Dr. Wilhelmina Jala calls for collaboration among government institutions to address the situation hand-on.
There are people that are bringing in the drugs. There are people that are selling the drugs to our young people. So we need law enforcement to do their part. The young people are all victims. So we want to take care of the victims of this drug situation in the country.
Also speaking, the International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Director in Liberia, Saleh Shenegan, encouraged participants to make maximum use of the training to save the country's future generation.
I'm so glad to see so many of you here and that your trainers are going to be able to pass this along to the people that you work with. The scientific methodology, the evidence-based training, I think is just so important.
The 30 healthcare workers are expected to institute a series of trainings across the country to expand the knowledge gained For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
Meanwhile, the Gambia's Health Minister, Dr. Amadulamin Samate, has blamed meningitis and sepsis for the death of 17 children in the country. The minister informed National Assembly members that some of the children arrived at health facilities late with severe symptoms and died within 24 hours. Samate, however, ruled out the possibility of any outbreak. Our Banjul correspondent, Sankule Janko, has more.
During an answer session in Parliament on Wednesday, Gambia's Health Minister Dr. Samata said several diseases were responsible for the recent death of 17 children under the age of 5 at the Serekunda General Hospital. The minister's comment was in response to the National Assembly member for Janjanbureh constituency, Omar Jame, who showed an explanation for the cause of the deaths.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to inform the Honorable Member of Janjanbureh constituency that the cause of the recent deaths of 17 children are variable. The causes are variable, such as sepsis, gastroenteritis, and meningitis.
The deaths were reported to the Epidemiology and Disease Control Unit of the Health Ministry by the Serekunda Hospital Management on 29 March 2023. The 17 children all died within 30 days, which raised concerns among the public. Concerned about the toll, the minister cited late arrival at the hospital with sick children as another reason.
Some of these patients came in with severe symptoms and succumbed within 24 hours. We wish to use the opportunity to appeal to people to go to hospital early before the symptoms worsen.
On a more positive note, however, Samate ruled out the possibility of an outbreak.
We decided to investigate to be sure that we are not dealing with an outbreak. The information we have so far indicates that it was not an outbreak.
This incident makes the second time within 12 months that the Gambia recorded mass death among children. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Atewen Mbila Lawson in Accra joins us now with the major headlines from the Ghanaian dailies.
Greetings from Accra, Ghana. Welcome to the newspaper review for today, Thursday, June 22, 2023. Let's start with the headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper. The screaming headline says 40,000 barrels boost oil production. Tullow partners new drill over 100,000 per day. Then we have some banner headlines. High Court rules on Kweson's trial timelines tomorrow. And then constitutional review, chiefs demand more powers. And the final banner headline, Afri-Exim Bank, Springfield signed $750 million loan agreement. So those are the headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's go to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The screaming headline, protect all vulnerable groups. CRI advises government, and that would be Child Rights International is CRI. Then some banner headlines. Court grants Jache Kweson green light to campaign. And those are the headlines in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let's now bring you headlines in the Business Analyst newspaper. And the screaming headline, May producer inflation drops to 30.3%. Industrial PPI stood at 32.5%. And there's a picture there of the government statistician, Professor Kobina Enim. Then some banner headlines. Tobinco boss gifts Madiama FC players 100,000 Ghana cedis for winning Ghana Premier League. And then Tema Oil Refinery raises red flag over Torrentco lease agreement. And then the final banner headline here in the Business Analyst newspaper, AGI urges government to remove taxes on imported raw materials. So those are the headlines in the Business Analyst newspaper. Let's now go to the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The screaming headline, Joy FM report exposes NDC. Bawulia was an NDC creation to smear Bawumia. That's an interesting headline there. Then some banner headlines: sickle cell disease in Ghana, some updates on that. And then Ghana Library Authority has expanded network from 61 to 118 branches. That's quite significant. Then another political story: Kennedy Japan submits forms for flag bearer elections. And then Asin North by-election is a test of government's performance, according to former President and NDC flag bearer John Mahama. Let's now end with the graphic showbiz. Of course, the biggest story in Ghana has been a tell-all book by actress Yvonne Nelson, and the screaming headline here says Yvonne Nelson needs to heal well. That's according to Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur. And then another banner headline: I don't hate Yvonne Nelson, according to Victoria Lebene. The final banner headline: Grammy new category rejoice, but ... You need to reach page 10 to find out more about that story. And those are the headlines in the major dailies today in Ghana. My name is Atiewin Imbila Lawson. Back to you in the studio.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Campaigns concluded on Wednesday in Sierra Leone before the forthcoming general elections scheduled for June 24. However, considering the ban on rallies imposed by authorities has raised concerns about the overall satisfaction of the campaign. The Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, of the country declared the campaign to be free from major issues and commended the political parties for their conduct throughout the period. Nevertheless, national election observers have disputed the PPRC's claim by pointing out incident of elections campaign violence. Joining us now is Charles Cave Kobai, National Elections Watch Coordinator.
As you rightly stated, elections are due in 2 days' time. On Saturday, 24th June, Sierra Leoneans will be heading to the polls to cast their votes in a multi-tier election. Apparently, sensitive elections material arrived in the country on Monday, and luckily I was at the Freetown International Airport to represent my institution. 39 pallets of sensitive materials came in, constituting 294 cases of all elections materials. Elections campaigns should end today across the country. Tomorrow will be a cool-off time, and then on Saturday we go into elections.
So can you describe the atmosphere in the country?
Campaigns have been marred by violence, intimidation, hate speech, and interestingly, many of these have been perpetrated against the main opposition, All People's Congress. The APC, during their campaigns in the stronghold of the ruling SLPP, Sierra Leone People's Party, faced series of intimidation, resistance from supporters of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party not to enter the stronghold territory of the ruling government, the ruling party. They were also attacked in Syria Rutai. People were wounded. Supporters of the APC were wounded. We have seen that in many parts across the country. So it's been a concern, as a result of which the All People's Congress leadership had also come out in a press conference to raise 7-point issues to the ECSL, rejecting the neutrality of the Electoral Commission. And they were demanding that the entire Electoral Commission resign. There are so many video clips across different social media platforms showcasing the incidents of yesterday, because the opposition had called for their supporters to come out for the ECSL, the Electoral Commission, failing to produce the updated voter register, the data, and then for the chairman and his commissioners failing to resign. They came out yesterday. They had given a 72-day ultimatum. And so yesterday, the leadership, the secretariat of the APC had commanded or requested their supporters to come out on a peaceful demonstration. So while they were gathering at their headquarters, the police barricaded their headquarters yesterday, and they were tear gassing the people. We can also see from videos across social media showing live bullets being fired at the headquarters of the opposition APC.
You have mentioned so many incidents, especially with the clashes between protesters and police. Now, looking at this atmosphere that you have painted, Do you think this election would be successful? Because looking at the history of Sierra Leone in terms of electoral violence and some of these events happening prior to elections, do you think there will be a peaceful elections?
Well, that's why we are deploying observers from the perspective of the National Election Watch. We'll be deploying categories of observers just to ensure, one, there is transparency in the process, to ensure that the process is credible, and to ensure our presence deter violence at polling stations. So we'll be deploying 750 PRVT observers. These will be the PRVT are the process and result verification for transparency observers. We'll also have station observers. There are 5,000 of those will be deployed across centers and police stations. We'll also have incident reporters that will be deployed at district levels that will be capturing all incidences happening within their different districts.
Charles Kef Koba is the coordinator of National Elections Watch. Sankule Janko is here with sports.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The World Basketball Governing Body FIBA has banned former Mali's junior women's basketball team coach for life for systematic sexual harassment within the Mali Basketball Federation FMBB. Amadou Bamba is one of 5 coaches and officials sanctioned following an investigation into an allegation conducted by FIBA. Other top officials in Mali Basketball Federation have also been handed bans for their involvements. Former FMB President Haruna Maiga has been handed an 8-year suspension for his role according to the investigation. Meanwhile, former Secretary General Seydou Maiga receives a 6-year suspension. Amadou Traoré, a former FMBP vice president, was handed a 4-year suspension, while former assistant coach Fatoumata Diallo has been suspended for 2 years. All parties will have to complete FIBA-approved safeguarding training before being allowed to return to the sport, according to media reports. The report also stated the FMBB has been negligent for decades in what appears to have become an institutional system of sexual abuse. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We have come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM and in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County, in Ghana on Royals FM 104.7 ONG. Inyas Bilimu has been on the console, and Mustafa Seg has been streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Do interact with us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Tofik Abdulnasir. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music. Get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.